flipping through like for the past 2 days. It's just sort of ordinances. Because the whole project is I have to like compare like cannabis ordinances. It's just about that.
One of the emails we all get is funny. Are you looking at the Falcon 9 Sonic Boom Advisory?
Oh, that's probably from the OES.
Yeah, OEM, but
They
yeah.
actually put out an advisory for that.
Yeah, it's just it was a funny title of an email. Forward Falcon 9 Sonic Boom Advisory. I've been startled before, but not by the Falcon 9, by something else.
I can start off by that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just open up like any social media anytime after the rocket launches. There's always someone who's like, what was that noise?
Yeah.
Yeah, rather anything.
I saw you get it. Delivering next.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. I'd like to announce that this meeting is being recorded. May I have a roll call?
Dr. Aguilar?
Here.
Dr. Topliff?
Here.
Dr. Craig?
Here.
Dr. Shaw?
Sorry, I was about to.
Hello.
Dr. Brad?
Here.
Dr. Freeman?
Here.
Dr. Deschler?
Good morning.
Did I call everybody? I
Here.
got Dr. Shaw.
Before we begin,
Just a little out of,
My volume,
yeah,
didn't
match
match,
the rest of ours.
I know, because I have a lot of energy
Well, isn't that expecting?
for all of you.
I just caused a big disruption, so it's fine.
How you doing, buddy? How you feeling?
A lot better. I'm on antibiotics.
nice.
Glad you're sitting over there.
Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Chumash people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Chumash elders, past, present, and future, who call this place Anaskoyo, the land that Isla Vista sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue the tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Chumash community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. Now I'd like to move on to the consent agenda. Are there any motions?
I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
I vote against.
The whole thing?
I have something to say.
Okay, you would like to pull an item from the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay,
If I was organized and I had the number in front of me, I would say I'd like to pull up the legal bills. Whatever one that one is.
2.3.
That's not actually.
yes, item 2.3, approval of 17,000 to et cetera to Alshire Winder LLP for April legal services.
Yes, that's the one.
Well, if you want to pull it, we can take the original motion to approve the other parts and then vote on that one second. So we still need a second. A second.
Is that friendly with you all? Okay, is there any public comment on this particular motion? I see none. So I'll go to a vote. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. And this motion passes 7-0-0-0.
So then we can do a separate motion for 2.3.
One discussion.
Discuss?
Yes, I'm just waiting for the chair to recognize me.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. So I know that there were a lot of issues, a lot of consultation that we did with our legal attorney the last several months, which is super duper appropriate. Like, no, I have no problem with how we've used our attorney, and so the bill's higher than normal, but that makes sense. We also had the retreat. But one of the things when I was looking through the bill, I noticed that there's several charges for $1,500, and that's for the time that it takes our attorney to return back to her place of residence. And so I think when you start adding these $1,500 every month, say it's 2 times a month, it adds up, right? And when you look at some of the budget shortfalls that we're anticipating, I think it's worth looking at, is it reasonable to maybe reduce the amount of in-person legal visits to our meetings to once a month, or perhaps in a slower month, not being here a month. It makes sense to be here when we have personnel issues, when we have other issues that require kind of that one-on-one face-to-face, but I think given that $1,500 is just travel time, I think it's worthwhile to rethink using Zoom as an alternative, maybe more strategically.
I can definitely work with Jamie on that. I think in April, the board had requested her to be here in person for the 2, like my reviews and all that, but definitely something we can make an adjustment for next year and budget around that. So here's what budget we have for this number of in-person visits.
Yeah. Cool.
Yes, Director Freeman. To verify, other than April though, she's just been doing once a month at most.
Usually before April.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
That's why she's not here today.
Yeah.
And we have
She's not-
Payam, who's her assistant.
But not
counsel
like,
on Zoom.
I don't mean
Yeah.
like
instead of having the once a month policy, if it made sense to, just kind of do it on a as needed basis, it could help rebalance things. I'll leave it to you to figure it out, but I probably should have been aware that, of course, our staff is on the clock when they're doing travel, but it never crossed my mind. Mainly what crossed my mind was the travel reimbursement costs. So I appreciate you for bringing that up.
Dr. Freeman. One thing that maybe also is this the way this had been pricing had changed, because it used to be when we were working with, I'm so bad.
Ross.
Thank you, Ross. He was also the legal counsel for the Sanya, for the Los Olivos Community Service District, and he was like sharing the travel time and some of the hotel costs, and so it wasn't as big of a line item for that. So that also was like it actually changed recently. So
That's very true.
So that'll move approval of 2.3.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have the motion by Deschler and we have the second by Topliff. Is there any public comment on this motion? See no public comment on this motion, so I'll go to a vote. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. And this motion passes 7-0-0-0. Now I'd like to move on to the public comment period. At this time, any member of the public may speak on matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board of directors that are not on the agenda. The board will not take action on any item not on the agenda except as provided by law. Is there any public comment at this time?
No one on Zoom except us.
All right. There's no public comment this time, so we'll move on to our discussion action items. We have item 4.1, resolution 24-10, district staff restructuring and funding.
I do want to note that we made some edits to the resolution. So there's 2 versions in the attachment, one that was attached on Friday and one that Jamie and I made some additions to. It's not substantive additions, it's just clarifications on the intent of one on section 3, essentially, which is the community engagement director position being restructured. So I just wanted to note that if you could all please approve this, if you do, with the amended version. So my presentation here is a follow-up to our retreat, which is that we are looking at doing a staff reorganization plan that we went over at the retreat. What this resolution does is it brings back the assistant general manager job description, updates it based on what we've discussed. It restructures the community engagement director job description to be the community programs and engagement director. And it supersedes then the community engagement director, same salary schedule. We defund the community spaces program manager role. This change will cost $3,000, so it's approving that funding. And then the appointments of the employees into these roles isn't taking place in this resolution. That's something I will do as the personnel officer, and that this goes into effect on June 3rd, so next Monday. So that's the general overview of this resolution, and I'll show the staff structure again so that people watching this meeting will understand what we're doing. This is our current org chart, and this is our new one where it has the assistant general manager overseeing the community programs and engagement director, and then the program managers. And here is the job description for the assistant general manager. It's very much in line with the previous job description with a couple things added into it. And finally, the community engagement, community programs and engagement director, again, is pretty much in line with the previous version with the added duties over compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits to a local agency executive. The legislative body shall orally report a summary of a recommendation for a final action during the open meeting in which the final action is to be taken. Tonight, the board is considering approval of a new job specification, salary, and benefits for the assistant general manager position and restructuring the community engagement director position into the community programs and engagement director with recommended salary and benefits as $457B retirement plan, 9% employer contribution and 3% employee contribution. Paid time off of 12 paid holidays, winter recess, 15 vacation days per year prorated upon hire, and sick days. FLSA exempt, benefited at-will employee and not eligible for a COLA this next fiscal year. Community programs and engagement director, $93,330 per year, which is the same salary track as the community engagement director. Platinum PPO, health, dental, and vision insurance. Retirement required participation in a 457B retirement plan, 9% employer contribution, 3% employee. Paid time off, 12 paid holidays, winter recess, 12/24 through 12/1/2, 15 vacation days per year prorated upon hire, and sick days eligible for COLA July 1st, since it's an established salary schedule. So that's my report out, and happy to answer any questions on the job descriptions. I think you all have seen the plan and everything before, but the job descriptions are new. So I'm happy to answer questions on these.
All right, thank you for that presentation. Is there any questions at this time from board members? Yes.
I would just like to make a request. I think the org chart is really helpful, and I would like it to be posted on the website. I also think it'd be appropriate to put first and last names and also date it when you put it on the website.
Okay, sounds good. I will get on that. We have a staff section of the website, so it's got a home for it.
Are there any other board questions at this time? All right, I see no board questions at this time, so I'll go to the public. Is there any public comment or questions on this item? See no public comments. I'll come back to the board. Is there any board commentary or discussion on this item? Yes, Director Brand.
I don't feel like I have any questions on this. It shouldn't be indicative of like thinking that this is not a big change. This is a big change. It's just because you have updated us along the way as you've been considering this. And I think that this is a very well thought through change organizationally that that makes sense to me. It is providing opportunities for advancement for some of our employees that are receiving that are doing a great job. And so I'm excited to support this and looking forward to it. It's a sign of like the organization continuing to grow and evolve, which I think is really cool.
Yes, Director.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Spencer said. I just, this is not new to us, and so I think maybe it's gotten lost, but I appreciate you bringing it up. But this is, I just love the way that you have been able to balance your employees and think of the organization and be nimble and innovative to kind of marry the right people with the right jobs and make the changes that you've proposed. And I think it's really a hallmark of an organization that's well run is to be nimble and responsive to kind of changing needs and situations. And a lot of times, entities aren't able to do that for a variety of reasons. And one of that is leadership. So I just appreciate your leadership in this regard and really thinking of your employees' needs as well as the organizational needs and coming up with this plan.
Thank you, and thank you to the reorg committee for, we worked since October.
I think I'm moving that.
You're on that.
I'm like, thank you. I'm like, that's me.
No, you all had good advice and priorities for also what you wanted to see too, so we made that happen.
All right, I don't see any further commentary on this, so if there's a motion from anyone, specifically the amended suggestion from
Amended
staff.
resolution.
I would move to adopt the amended recommended resolution.
All right,
I'll second that.
and we have the second from top left. Is there any public comment on this motion? I see no public comment on this motion, so I'll go to a vote. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. And this motion passes 7-0-0-0. And now we will move on to item 4.2, 2024-2025 board goals.
Okay, so we went over a draft of the board goals at the retreat last month, and I can't believe it's been a month ago when we had a retreat. And I took in the board's feedback and suggestions that we made then and have this updated document. So if you all have more discussion or changes, we can still make them. It's not a rush to approve it today, but I did feel like I captured the discussion that we had at the retreat on what should be changed, kept, and removed. There are less goals, but they're more focused goals. So there's a few, we cut more than we added, but we also optimized a couple goals, made them a little more specific of what we wanted to see. And but we kept the overall format and structure the same. And then the side where it says funding and resources, I think that's something we'll have to wait for our finance committee and our budget process to pan out, but I will add those in once we have our budget approved in June.
All right, thank you for that update. Is there any questions from any board members? Yes.
I just noticed that we talk about the acquisition of the community center and this building, and we don't mention the solar parking lot, which is not as much of a priority perhaps, but that's still kind of the package that we're working on. So that was a little noticeable to me.
Yeah, no, I
And
can
then
make
there was also a goal about handing out trees, and I don't remember anything about that.
Yeah, I could, our policy committee has been working on this topic, Do you want to share more about it, or I can?
I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting.
And for what it's worth, this is something that has been a board topic before, and we've had, there was one time, I don't know how long ago this was, but we even had a tree expert show up, and we were looking at the types of trees that we could distribute, and we were working with the county at various points on this. Yeah, I mean, I don't, for all I know, it was long enough ago that you weren't here.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah,
All
so-
right, well, it
Yeah.
surprised me because
The,
I didn't remember anything about trees.
This is something that I know I can speak myself. I've cared about for a long time. I don't want to speak for half of other people, but it's something that when every time the county comes and takes and puts new sidewalks in, they end up removing a lot of trees. They have a deal where they need to put back the same number of trees that they removed. Like the same amount of growth. And so actually it's more trees than the one they removed. But like they try to replace the growth that they removed. But the deal that they do is they just give it all to the Parks District in order to put it into the parks. And so what happens is if you were to think about it from like an aerial perspective of Isla Vista, all of the green is concentrating into smaller regions of Isla Vista. And so if you're somebody who's just walking on the street and you'd like to have the greenery, whether it be because of the views of it or whether it's because of the shade and the habitat for wildlife, it's nice to have trees around. But we ran into this problem continually of how to distribute trees with the counties. The county, much like they say about a lot of things that we've been dealing with, they say it's a gift of public funds. If you, just go around and try to figure out, oh, we could give this property a tree and then we're going to install it, maybe even put a little bit of maintenance into it. And so we've been looking into the actual legal restrictions that may or may not exist on that, and then how we could actually go about trying to have trees and then distribute them to people so that they could plant them. And the specifics of that are things like, well, maybe instead of, for example, saying like, oh, we took a tree out there, but one would fit there. Okay, well, no, we have a lot of trees that could be given out since there are opportunities. Maybe it's a first come first serve thing. Maybe it's a like if you have to provide some kind of like guarantee that you will maintain the tree or various things like that. But something where it's like position neutral on like who we're helping.
And a lot of
What
local
would
government.
be our apparatus for giving away trees? What branch of our organization would do that?
Ivy Beautiful. So it's, yeah, and that's something Jen has been doing research and presented to the policy committee last meeting of what other local governments do to collect trees and have like a tree distribution day essentially, or a sign up form where you could ask for a tree. But yeah, we would need to keep it fair and open to everybody and not just say, yeah, this property needs a tree, like Jay said. So.
Turned out the trees were a lot cheaper also than I thought that they were. So
Cool. Thank you.
This will come up later, I assume, but are we factoring in sustainability and water, that kind of thing, as we think about giving out trees?
They would be put on
Okay.
private property, but yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that'd be like what Jay said, like part of the agreement, like if you commit to maintaining the tree, you can have the tree.
And being a board priority, it implies we're working on it this year.
Yeah, at least to get something going. It wouldn't be, we wouldn't have the final version of the program this next year, but just to get it launched and designed. We still have some work to do with like having a policy in place, having the program specifications outlined, and then eventually launch.
it hadn't occurred to me in the context of other discussions we've been having until I described it just now, but I'll be clear, it's not, I love the idea of doing this. This isn't the planting something the county's doing, is it?
I don't
I
think
think
they
we're
do a
gonna
tree
for it.
distribution program.
Well, they don't have a tree distribution program, but they
Yeah.
do. Okay, because we're not technically replacing, they're still having to replace the trees that they removed from the sidewalks. We are additionally providing.
We're enhancing. the way
Okay,
it
great.
works. We're enhancing.
I'm just not really paranoid
They
about
go
that.
like I don't want to say the easy route, but they go like the path of least resistance.
Okay,
to
great.
replace those trees, but we're making a new option.
Great, okay.
Thank you. Yes, Director Brand.
So it seems like what you're talking about relates a lot to street trees. And do we have any goals that, relate to the transportation planning related to trees? I'm just curious.
Well, what we're talking about is private property trees that shade the street. But in terms of the mobility plan, trees didn't come up a lot because there aren't that many street trees, and the ones we have are where there's a lot of sidewalk. already, like El Marcadero and the Loop. But there is, there's a lot of goals around just implementing whatever those plans say, but not specifics on aspects of those plans. It just says complete, and which we will complete very soon, both of those plans, and then implement them.
Yeah, I think, without getting into too many specifics, because I know we're talking about the goals right now. I think it would be beneficial that when this does come to the full board, that it is done in a comprehensive way that also looks at not just the mobility plan that we're doing, but the county ATP plan is like doing its engineering right now. So it seems like right now would be the time to ask for stuff like that, so it seems like it would be good to have all that information when it comes to the board, because maybe it's something that is already happening that we can contribute towards.
They do plan, I know we're getting a little off topic, but they do plan on presenting some ATP design, like they want to bring the designer and the engineering firm to our board to present on what they're working on and get feedback. So that'll happen too.
Dr. Freeman.
I actually don't remember how this came up again recently. It's something that we've talked about at the board level even before in the past.
It's just been in Jenna's backlog of things to work on, and
just-
she
okay.
finally got to it. She's had a lot of other
And
things. to
she's
work on.
accomplished a lot of great things.
Yeah, so now she came up to this one, and we said, okay, let's go to the policy committee to work on it. But she was also talking about this when she presented her annual report to the board as like new opportunities for Ivy Beautiful is planting and.
Okay,
so-
yeah.
I think it also came up when we had Ken Knight come.
Yeah.
A while
And
ago,
talk
yeah.
about-
I meant like in the last couple months, why did this
Oh,
suddenly
All right, are there any other questions at this time about the board goals? All right, I see no questions. Is there any public comment on this item? See no public comment. Is there any further board commentary or discussion on these draft board goals?
I just want to clarify that we did maintain the board, like one of the main discussions on this at the retreat was the unified brand for the district on all services. So we did strengthen that one
Thank you.
a little bit too.
All right, well. I
So
guess
aren't we
Director Bray-
ambitious?
Yeah.
When you go from like chatting on a Saturday to seeing it on paper on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think that this is such a good summation of everything that we have talked about. I'm really excited for the community engagement goals about implementing a leadership program. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that come to fruition. That's a big priority of mine, just especially as, in Isla Vista, it's our biggest challenge is that we have so much turnover. And so developing that leadership is, I think, really important to carrying, the mission of the district on into the future.
So I see good, excited conversation, but I don't see a motion about this item. And so we don't need to approve these board goals today.
You don't need to approve them today, but
Let's do it. I'll
Yeah.
move to approve.
We'll second.
Okay, we have the motion by Topliff and the second by Brandt. Is there any public comment on this motion? I see no public comment on this motion. So I'll return for a vote. All those who are in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. And this motion passes 7-0-0-0. All right. We can now move on to item 4.3, Second Amendment. This one doesn't work, but item 4.3, Second Amendment to the contract with Dixon Resources Unlimited.
okay, so this is doing two things that are essentially things we've already approved, but memorializing them. So in February, the board approved a change order to the contract, but we only approved the change order. We didn't approve we didn't reflect that into the contract. And since the beginning of the project, we had always said that fall 2024 was when the deliverables would be submitted to the board for approval. But we had the contract ending on June 30th, 2024. So that was just a small mistake that was made. So we're just going to acknowledge both things, that we did approve the change order, and it is, amending the contract size to incorporate that, and that the contract will end October 31st, 2024 instead of June 30th, so that they can finish their work as planned already. Since the beginning, this has always been the timeline. So that's all we're doing here, is memorializing things we've already had in place.
I'll move to approve.
All right, with the motion, is there a second?
A second.
Right, we have the second. Is there any public comment on this motion? I see no public comment on this motion, so I'll return for a vote. All those who are in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. And this motion passes 7-0-0-0. All right, good work, everyone. Move on to item 4.4, Goleta Library Advisory Commission reappointment.
Okay, well, we have one of our directors, Aguilar, who's been appointed to the Goleta Advisory Commission, but they've been sending out messages thinking that the spot is vacant or it's a 3-year term. So we just want to make sure that he has our official endorsement to stay on the commission, which is what we had intended, but we just want to reaffirm his appointment.
Can you clarify that?
I don't know much details.
I
just-
can
Yeah, you
explain a
can-
little bit more. So there's advertisements for these spots on their commission with the wording that they are vacant, but I had a message that said that my term ends in July, which again is not, to me, not a square number of months from when I took over that commissioner role. But it was noticed to me in the end of April, early May, that this July changeover was coming. So I sent in my application to them. I'm still waiting to hear back exactly, but Jonathan and I felt it was in our best interest as a board to make a unified decision. That way there's no confusion on where the CSD stands.
Application?
Yes, it was a brief application, but yes.
They asked you to fill out or potentially, did a general call for applications?
Yeah, it was like on their website, you have to click and.
Okay, so can I
Yes,
all right,
please.
so my understanding, first of all, I don't even think we can appoint it. My understanding is that the county appoints this position and that the county owns those seats and that Goleta cannot just like randomly say they're vacant and then say that like random people can apply to them. Like that's something like the whether we should get upset about it, but like the county shouldn't get upset about it. Like the county. Goleta's not really in a position to say that oh, here's this seat's open. Would anyone random like to have it? No, it's like the county gets to decide.
The county reached out to me too, asking who's gonna be the rep
Yeah.
from CSD. So I think they will take our recommendation for the appointment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I by the way, I'm so glad that we have somebody who actually like works in libraries that we can have to do this position. I particularly am glad that we have such a person because I was a person who's previously having to do it and I was having to put up with all the randomness that was occurring. I remember when I first got recommended to be appointed for that, there was a agendized, we were going to talk about it, and Ethan started saying that we didn't have anyone to do it and we were going to go on some extravagant search for it, and I was like, I'd be willing to do it. He's like, really? So that's how I got on. So I'm so glad that we have you doing it, and I would like to move to I don't know, we should, so you want me to appoint, not recommend to the county to appoint?
Recommend for appointment.
Okay, I would move to recommend for appointment Marcos Aguilar. So that face today. To the Goleta Library Advisory Commission.
All right, is there a second on this motion?
I will second.
All right, we have the motion and we have the second. Is there any public comment on this motion? I see no public comment on this motion. I'll ask a quick question because we ask it every time that we come to one of these moments, but when voting, am I allowed to vote for my own appointment? Not that it,
Do you get paid for that?
I do receive a
Then-
per meeting stipend.
You should abstain this time,
Okay.
but Jamie and I are working on the paperwork that would then make it so that you don't have to abstain.
Even though it's a different government.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there is an FPPC form that as long as we list all the directors and what they do on another government that gets paid,
Got it.
we won't have to do this anymore, like abstaining, but until we finalize that paperwork, you should abstain.
Let's say that we randomly decide, maybe Marcos decided he can't do it anymore, doesn't want to have to do it anymore, and we decided Olivia was doing it today. If we had declared that Marcos was having financial benefit from this thing, would Olivia then have to abstain from the?
I don't think so. I think what the law says, and Jamie can chime in when she's back, is as long as you publish this information on your website, then you don't have to do the abstention. So I think it would be listed as one of the positions we appoint people to.
Oh, position, okay, like not.
You do
okay.
list the person too,
Okay.
but I'll clarify with her, but that is something we're working on, is
Alright.
the forms and all that for that.
Sounds like a great tool for future boards to take advantage of. Hearing that, and there's no public comment on this motion. I'll go to a vote. Yes.
I just wanted to do discussion first and just ask, we're 4 years into, I believe it's 4 years into the creation of this commission. And I'm just curious to hear from you as a representative. I know you provide us regular updates on the ongoing, discussion items of the meetings, but I'm just curious if you have any thoughts about how it's working, the governance structure aspect with the city of Goleta.
Yes, I think it's overall working well. I think there are ways that it could improve. Not to speak to improvements, but in general, not in general, but there has been a new commissioner added who's very productive and adds to our meetings. When they noticed my seat, there's also 2 other seats that are noticed as being vacant. And those people, like myself, attend the meetings regularly, so they're doing their own process of application. I do think that the forms of improvement would be a little bit on ways of communication. One example is whoever has this role in the future, if they are a board member, they will also have a separate City of Goleta email. That can be a minor hiccup where things are lost in translation or literally lost in email. That can be kind of challenging. It's not a particularly active email. For example, I applied to my application. I sent in my application last week. There's been no response from anyone that I could see. Also, in a form of communication, this commission doesn't meet super often. So it can make the momentum of progress feel a little bit disjointed as to what the commission is working on or what the commission is working for. I do know that the city of Goleta does have a new library director. So I expect that there will be more change happening in this year than there has in the previous 3 or 4 years, just based on new personnel, new leadership. I am very happy with the service that Goleta Library does provide for Iowa listings. I think they've been good partners in hearing our feedback over the years, and trying to implement changes and requests that we have as a community. I'm also glad that we have a seat at this commission. One thing I'll add that's not about the city of Goleta, but I do think it's important that we continue to make a push as a district for other library ambitions and other library advocacies, like the county board seats, given that we have such a large chunk of the per capita funding. To me, that's something that's important for future Isla Vista library goals, and I'll say it here, that way it's in the record for future board members to think about. Yes, Director Freeman.
I don't know if this is at all helpful, and for all I know, they no longer, they found the configuration option for this, and moved it. But you can configure your deleted email to forward to another email.
I think I might ask you for help for that later. They use an Outlook system.
Yeah.
We use a Gmail system, but it would be kind of a helpful
I'm
tool.
very curious to know, do they let you change your password now?
That's been kind of a struggle, actually. But I do have my passwords saved in safe places.
When I started, I got an email that told me that your password is, and it didn't even just say your password is, and then it put a little thing. It described my password. Your password is the first two characters of your first name, capital, lowercase, the first two characters of your last name, capital, followed by the following number, followed by an exclamation point. Turns out that's actually the pattern for everyone's password.
Oh.
Everyone's passwords.
I can either confirm or deny if this algorithm is still in place.
Security with a capital S.
It was an amazing process being.
Director Brand.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for your service on this commission, and I'm excited to support your reappointment. One thing that I think and I don't know if it would be appropriate within the confines of the commission, but I'm aware two of the new leadership there, and I think it might be great just to have a meeting set up, whether it's at a board meeting or just individually with board members with that person, so that we can get to know them. The services that they provide here are valuable, and also this board has had a lot of thoughts about how that can best be provided. So I would hope that something like that can happen in the near future.
Yeah, that's great feedback. I think that should be easy to implement, and I think an invitation would be really healthy for their director to come attend one of our meetings, whether on Zoom or in any other form. Yeah. Director Freeman.
Is Lori Goodman still on the board?
I believe she is staying on the board.
It was really convenient because it was almost like having two local representatives.
Yeah, as far as my understanding, she is staying on the board. I think there is one seat that is or I'm not sure who will fill it. We're not sure yet. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't see any further questions or commentary, so return. We had a motion by Director Freeman and second by Director Brandt. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And I will call this to a vote. All those who are in favor of this motion, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say no. And I will be abstaining. So this motion passes 6-0-1-0. Right. Now move on to item 4.5, resolution 24-11, the 2024 election candidate statement.
I included the whole packet in here just so you guys had a frame of reference for what the election is, the upcoming election and the dates for it. But really, the main thing we need to submit, that the board needs to approve for us to submit to the county, is this resolution 24-11 that they pre-made for us, that we just indicate every 2 years whether we want to pay for the candidate statements and how long they should be in the ballot guide. So what we've historically done is candidate pays and the shorter one because it's cheaper. So it's easier for people to afford. If it's the 400, they have to put up a bigger upfront cost. So that was the past board decision 2 years ago. But if you guys want to change it, we can change it now. It's not something we budgeted for to take on those costs, and I don't know what they are, but every 2 years in the past, we haven't paid for this. So, but they do want it every 2 years submitted. The rest of it is just pro forma stuff we need to submit every year, which seats are up and all that.
I'll move to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
All right, we have the motion and we have the second. Is there any public comment on this item or on this motion? I see no public comment, so I'll return to the board for a vote. All those who are in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. And this motion passes 7-0-0-0. All right. Now we can move on to our reports. We have item 5.1, reports from members of the board. Are there any board members wish to share reports this time? Dr. Brandt.
I had the chance to attend the May 23rd memorial that our staff organized in conjunction with associated students and IVCSD and UCSB, and I just thought it was a really well done together event. It was really meaningful to me to hear some of the parents of people who lost their lives 10 years ago speak and talk about keeping up the fight for gun safety. And everyone that I talked to also had compliments about just how great the memorial was. So a great job to you and Sydney and Maya and the rest of the team that put on the event. Thank you. And secondly, I had the chance to attend the South Coast Youth Safety Partnership, which is a group put on by Communify. And at that event, it was their annual summit, and they had a panel of local teenagers that spoke about different things relating to youth violence and reducing youth violence. And I was just really struck by one of the things that a number of them mentioned, which is that they feel like, growing up in this town, there's not a whole lot that teens can do for fun that doesn't involve going to a bar or going somewhere where there's going to be drugs or alcohol. And I just thought that really made an impression on me, because it also just kind of reminds me of the situation that we're in, not with teenagers as much, but with younger residents in our community. And I just wanted to report that because I thought that was really fascinating, and it was great to hear the perspectives of all the young people, many of whom were so eloquent and have so many good ideas about how to make the community a better place.
Thank you for that report. Are there any other board members who share reports? I'll report that thanks to all of your recommendation, I will be attending this coming Monday's Goleta Library Advisory Commission, so we can have another update later after that, and I'll be sure and talk with their director about potential invite. Also share that Jonathan and Carrie and myself earlier this afternoon had another one of our regular meetings with IVRPD and their leadership and their staff, and went great. We're continuing to have on-topic agendas, moving things forward, building a healthy relationship between all of us. So I'm really proud of that bond and how it's strengthened so quickly in the last few months. And yes, that concludes my report. Right, I see no other reports from board members, so I'll go to reports from standing and ad hoc committees. Are there any committees that wish to share?
Are there any committees that met?
I don't think they have.
I don't think finance committee, the last time we met was before.
Yeah, we reported it last week.
All right, and item 5.3, report from district council. Do we have a report?
No, I don't know if Payam has a report, but he is here and he's Jamie's assistant district counsel. So if he wants to introduce himself.
Yes, hello, everybody. I just wanted to
You're
introduce
muted.
myself. My name is Payam Mustafavi, and
Give me one.
sorry.
Here you go. You can go ahead.
Good afternoon, board. Yes, my name is Payal Mustafavi. Thank you for the opportunity to cover the meeting tonight. I was once a resident of Isla Vista 10 years ago, so happy to be back and virtually, and look forward to assisting in the endeavors going forward.
All right. Thank you for being here. We look forward to more work.
Thank you.
Now, move on to item 5.4, report from our general manager and staff.
Okay, I don't have a extensive report today, but I will say that, yes, our May 23rd memorial was very nicely organized. Our staff did a lot of the heavy lifting in a short time to make that happen. And we're going to be posting the recording of the event on our brand new YouTube channel, which we have just established today.
Do tell.
We just established a YouTube channel.
What's the name?
It's going to be IVCSD is the app. And
Awesome.
yep. So that's a long time coming. We'll start transitioning the board meeting live streams onto there too. And it's a good new chapter for us. We're going to have, like, for example, a recording of the parking and mobility presentation that I'll talk about a little bit too. That'll be posted on the YouTube channel. So we have a lot of content that we'll get on there pretty soon, but this will be the first thing we upload.
They wouldn't just take the one that I was trying to give.
We have to start a little fresh, but we want to add all those things on. We'll talk. So that's a great new update for community engagement. I'll share that the parking and mobility plan, we had a really successful 2 days of focus groups, meetings, town hall. We had, I think, in total over 80 people participate between 2 days, between the town hall and the focus groups. I think I'm lowballing it. The town hall alone had 50 attendance. And what happened was we presented the progress of the plan, the draft concepts of what to implement, let people share what they'd want to do, and then they got to fill out these worksheets that were pretty big, lots of homework for people. Some of them had to take them home, and they've been scanning them back.
Supposed to bring mine back.
It's okay. We have until like mid to late June to do that. But it looked like we had a lot of residents of all kinds and businesses and property owners and students, long-term, very well representative group of Isla Vista participate. And people seemed overall happy with what they were hearing. No major complaints or just minor, hey, could you maybe make this change or addition? But we're pretty happy with the results so far. Now we're going to move into compiling the data of what people prioritized. We're going to launch a digital version of the worksheets so that people who couldn't attend can fill them out, but there'll be just a short timeline for people to do that. And that's why we're going to have a video recording of the presentation so people can watch it, turn in the worksheets. But overall, great 2 days. It absorbed most of the time since the last board meeting working on those, but we're very happy with the results. And we'll now move on. They'll be drafting now the final plans based on the community feedback, all the discussions that were had, and for your approval in the fall. Besides that, I don't have much of an update. Like I said, it was a bit of a lighter update since, I had one more, which is we did meet with the county public works department to go over the recommendations that you all approved at the previous board meeting on lighting locations. Because of the cost of lights and the complications sometimes involved in installing a street light in the limited space we have in IV, we're only probably able to afford 9 new light poles in IV. But we're being very targeted with where those are. So we're using the recommendation list that you all had. But so we're confident that we'll get a good impact, but $250,000 unfortunately just doesn't go that far for us. But your list was really helpful that we approved, and we are pretty happy with where this will end up. The county is essentially going to be going off of our list for what we get installed. So Yeah, those were the major things. Like I said, it was a very parking and May 23rd Memorial focused 2 weeks, and those were like the top priorities for us to get done, and we got those done. So now we're moving on to getting our budget finalized, implementing this reorganization in June, and yeah, continuing to move forward.
All right.
For me.
Thank you for that report. Move on to section 6, future meeting dates and future agenda items. The next regular meeting of the Board of Directors will take place on June 11th, 2024 at 6 p.m. on Zoom and at the Community Room, 970 Embarcadero Del Mar, Isla Vista, California. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Crazy, under an hour.
That was
Fif-
so fast.
56 minutes.
I was like preparing myself to be.
No,
here.
No, I was
ready to be here for like 3.5 hours.